We wanted Adam to look hot. It's not that he's not a gorgeous man. It's just that in Severance, he's someone who's been through a lot.
Last month, July, the 2025 Emmy nominations were announced. The show that got the most nominations was Apple TV's Severance, the stylish science fiction psychological thriller. Jessica Lee Gagné made Emmy history by being nominated for both cinematography for the first episode titled Hello, Miss Cobell, and directing episode 7, Chikhai Bardo. She's the first woman to be nominated in both the categories of cinematography and directing for the same drama series in the same year. The episode she directed is definitely one of my favorite TV episodes of the last year, so I'm really excited to speak with her.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, my first question is, have you seen the edits? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm terrified of watching anything that comes
Really?
out about the show.
The
Yeah, I can't do it, but sometimes I'll kind of sneak a peek at like stuff that's on YouTube and I love the fact that people are that, into it and that dedicated to it, but I can't watch the
Oh my
comments.
gosh, it's amazing. If you search like on TikTok Adam Scott edit, it's all these like, amazing for people who don't know what an edit is, it's basically like normally it's like there's a specific actor or actress and they put together like them looking hot to like hot music. Yeah. And the Chikhai Bardo created like such a sensation, I think, around Adam Scott and like a lot of like images of him like holding a pen cap in his mouth or saying, bend over. And I think it's proof of like just like the rich fantasy that was created in that episode. And I was wondering, this episode feels like such a departure from most of the other episodes of Severance in terms of like the tone and the texture and these scenes where we have these flashbacks. Also like there's like cozy knits, like and the color scheme is totally different. But I'm specifically interested in like, did you think about how sexy to make Adam Scott in the episode?
It was a conversation we had. We wanted Adam to look hot. It's not that he's not a gorgeous man. It's just that in Severance, he's someone who's been through a lot, and you can feel the
Yeah.
weight of his history is literally how he holds himself. You can see it. And he's, someone who's stopped trying. So this was the world before, and that was fun, but it was very intentional. We also wanted to cut his hair because I know his hair is a thing. I think I would like to watch the edits about his hair because I think those would be fun. And thank you for teaching me what a TikTok edit is. I don't have TikTok, so I didn't know that that was a thing. But
Yeah.
I need to get a little educated on these things. Yeah.
But like I said, I think it speaks really to the fact that like you created a world that like women definitely wanted to live in. And so I was getting a lot of those videos and I'm like, I'm getting all of these videos of Adam Scott in this episode. Um I'm curious what were like specific references you had for those flashbacks, maybe visual or from a film or TV, like what was the visual inspiration?
So in terms of references for the episode, there were 2 films. Usually I reference quite a bit more in terms of photography. It's kind of what it's like my go-to thing for referencing. But for the flashbacks, I think films were made a little bit more sense because it was more about a movement and a more complete kind of energy. So Lucas Daunt's film Close was actually suggested to me by the writer of the episode, Mark Friedman. He loved that film and he felt like that could be an interesting visual. And for me, Bright Star from Jane Campion was another one that I thought was really relevant. And you can kind of feel that flair, flower, nature kind of vibe, and the vibrance of Close is also something that we have. But it was more than references. I think what we were trying to do was create an energy and a new world, a new way of kind of making the show. Severance is made in a very particular way. It's very rigid. There's a process to it, even though it's organic, we're just very precise in what we do. And this, I kind of wanted it to feel completely different. Even for performances for actors, like on set, I just wanted it to feel like it could change. That it didn't need to be like something so specific. The coverage was really minimal and really simple, except for the transitions. Obviously, they were not so simple. But when we're with them in that kitchen scene, and she's doing that little game, and it's just a shot on her, shot on him. There's not much going on there. It's really simple. So it was making it feel kind of like a less complex experience and more of like a human experience, if that makes sense.
Coverage, for those who don't know, coverage is when you do like the same scene from different angles, and and this one there was like less of that. And
Mhm.
it feels improvised. Like like those like moments between them feel like somewhat more loose than the rest of the series. Was that true?
Yes, definitely. Like, I mean, the show, we try to leave room all the time in case when we're doing something, there's like a new door that opens and you go there creatively. But when we go into rehearsals, usually there's like an idea already. And then when we watch the rehearsal, we will, if I say coverage, we will basically write down the shots that we want to, do. Um, and in this specific thing, I think I hadn't really mapped out clearly what I was going to get as shots. Like for example, the dinner scene where they're all in that like sunroom
Mm-hmm.
and it's the end of the day. I just knew I was like, okay, I need a shot on everyone. That that was it. I need two sizes on her, but I need a shot of everyone. And I wasn't trying to do anything really specific. It was just in the moment, okay, frame him. This is what it is. And it wasn't about doing variations. Like we're not going to do a two shot. We're not going to do like multiple group shots. We'd have like, well, it's this one angle and that's it. So I really tried to keep it simple and free, and not do really precise or not come in with really, really precise ideas to just see what would happen on the day a little bit.
You've been a cinematographer most of your career. This was your directorial debut. I imagine it's much different to be working with actors than working on like the world that they inhabit. Is that a fair characterization? Like in really basic terms, what is like the difference between doing cinematography versus directing an episode for Severance?
The difference is huge.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I really lived it because like being a cinematographer on the show for years now, even though we only have 2 seasons, but it's been years. Um, it's a very technical approach. There's a lot of management that goes on in it for me, anyways, especially in season two because we have multiple DPs and sometimes multiple units shooting simultaneously, and I am kind of overseeing the visual language of the show. So
Mm-hmm.
I do have to kind of like manage the crews and the team. Um, but then moving into directing, it's like this kind of exponential thing in terms of things you're taking care of. And I don't, I think I appreciate directors more than ever now, just kind of having been in those shoes now and having every single department comes up to you and every decision is run by you. So, you really, it never stops. Honestly, you almost want to have pre-made outfits so that when you show up to work, you don't have to think about anything. Like you don't even care what you're eating, what you're drinking. I had to stop eating solid foods while we were shooting. I would do smoothies with, like, protein or whatever. I was just like, I literally
Wait, why?
my
Yeah.
because I couldn't manage, um it was deciding what to eat or to think about that was just too much. I was also shooting my own episode, so I think that added another level of work and complexity that made it too much a little bit. But yeah, you just have decisions to make all the time, and then working with the actors, the relationship from a director to an actor is very, very different from a cinematographer to an actor. And then there's also the relationship that I used to know. I haven't really done this in a very long time, but the relationship of an operator with an actor. And by operator, I mean camera operator.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had been in the world of camera operating and in the world of DPing for a while. And there's always, especially as a DP, like there's a distance between you and the actor, in television,
DP
especially
is
if you,
director of photography. Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah. And I can just say cinematographer, but when you're the cinematographer and not a camera operator, there's a bit of a wall between you and the actor. And in television, we're often shooting with more than one camera at a time. So, I'll have a headset on and I'll be talking to the camera department, the lighting department, the gripping department. Um, but I'm speaking to people who are with the actors in person. I am not directly beside them. So there's distance there. I was very comfortable in that distance.
That distance between
Uh,
you and the actor.
yes. I think one of the biggest realizations that I had about directing, I have to kind of think about how to word this for you, but um, I would not have been ready to direct in my life before this. I think there's certain things that happened to me or certain in my personal life where I was forced to look at myself and understand myself as a person and why I was the way that I was, why things around me were a certain way and why I was, kind of attracting certain things, I guess, in my life. Um, and once I really figured out the world that I had created around me, I understood kind of the reasoning of why I was the way that I was. And working with actors, you kind of need to have some of that work done, I believe, depending on the type of movie you're doing. But I think when you're trying to make things that are psychological and emotional and very complex in like a human nature way, um, having done that work on yourself informs the conversations you're going to have with actors and how they are within a scene. But if I had been trying to direct 5 years ago, I don't think I would have been in touch with that own language and that own part of myself, so I don't feel like I would have been comfortable working with actors. Things wouldn't have made sense on the same level. I don't know, are you following me or am I going
Yeah,
too
no,
quick?
no, no. I mean, you're saying something super deep, but I'm trying to like in practice. Does that mean like being able to articulate for yourself why there was decisions made, and that making it easier to let the actors know where their motivations are coming from, or like how did
Yes.
that work in practice?
That
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm saying. It's basically when you're working with an actor in a scene, as a director, you need to understand where this actor's coming from. You need to understand the backstory, who they are, why they are the way that they are. I'm saying you need, I guess everyone has different styles of work, but for me, it's important to understand what's motivating things in order to work with an actor and understand like why they are the way that they are. And in Severance, like with the Gemma character, that's where I did a lot of my work as a director, was understanding her in every scene. So in this episode, we're traveling 5 years of a lifetime here. She's a different person 5 years ago than she is on that testing floor when she's trying to get out. Like, what has this person been through? A lot, you know? And it starts with them meeting, which is where she's at a certain point in her life, and then they have their own drama that they're going through before she gets taken away. So I isolated all of those flashbacks and figured out in my own mind, like, okay, well, how would it feel? What has happened to her? How would she feel in this situation? What has she been through? And also, what does it feel like to be a woman in that kind of situation? So all of those things informed her. But when I come back to just say, like, I had to have done my own self analysis to be able to access the art of directing for me. I don't think I could have done it if I wasn't more in touch with me and why I am the way that I am. So that was the craziest thing about director, was realizing that the timing in my own life was perfect.
Wow. Well, I have to tell you, I was really scared to watch this episode because I love Severance, and one of my best friends who this is a show where we're all texting all the time and being like, "What do you think of this episode?" And she texted me. She was like, "This episode was incredible." She was like, "But just a warning, there is pregnancy loss." And I went through 2 pregnancy losses last year, so I was
I'm
nervous to
sorry.
watch it. Yeah, I'm actually due in October now, so I've come out on the other side. But
Oh,
I
congratulations.
thank you. Um, I loved the episode, and I thought it really, specifically the part that like most emotionally connected with me was the dynamic between Gemma and what is Adam Scott's character? I'm like blanking right now. Gemma
Mark?
and Mark, because it's such a specific, honestly, like hell for for a couple to go through. And I just thought but also because you love that person so much and you feel like you're letting them down. And I felt that was like really delicately treated, and you could just see Gemma's emotions and all of the flashbacks so crystal clear. I really related to it. But it made me wonder, yeah, if there were episodes of your own life that you culled from to get those performances, to talk about
Mhm.
those moments.
Definitely, and a lot of people close to me, have influenced this episode. I don't wanna name people because I don't wanna make anyone uncomfortable, but when I saw that this was going in this direction, really, that was one of the reasons also I wanted to do it as a woman. I was like, "There's no way we're letting a guy do this. Like, no, they're not gonna get it." And, I'm 37, so I am in that, and I don't have kids, I don't have a partner, and there's definitely sacrifices that I've made in my life for my career, and, I can't help but think about these things, and I'm, in that, freezing the eggs, Ivy, all these conversations are around me, and, she is pulled from, like, 'cause she's kind of like several people in my mind and like where she came from. I think that there's the part of me, which I relate to, is just being someone who's put your career first and who's always kind of put other people first. And then you realize you find someone and you want to make something happen. And now is it too late and what that can do? And you really see that's in the little nuances of her, the parts of her that she doesn't quite show him, that she doesn't really want him to see those things. And the energy that that could bring in a couple when you're trying to it's harder sometimes for it's tricky, but when you're someone who's when you're a woman who's had success in your career and you're with a partner that's not yet, where he wants to be, that can bring a very interesting energy. And that kitchen scene and the day scene
Mhm.
in the kitchen is definitely kind of like in that tension and world, and that he's almost kind of resenting her a little bit in a way. And then also for all of the IVF, the attempts, I spoke to a lot of women who'd been through it, and I have someone very close to me who'd been through it in a very intense way. Um, you kind of see, you can kind of go crazy, in
Yeah.
terms of the reality is even like the partner of someone. I spoke also with male partners who have had their partners go through IVF and the distance that that can create, um, because the woman feels powerless. She feels like she can't do what she's meant to do, and then you start resenting your own life. Like, oh, did I wait too late, or is it this person? You never know, like where the blame is and what that is. But that kind of loss of reality and feeling not understood by anyone, I think, is something that women who go through this kind of stuff is also something they feel. And the scene, I asked the writer to add the scene with her in the bathroom when she has a pregnancy test, um, and that was inspired by, like, I know that, when you're not supposed to do when you're going through the process, you're supposed to wait and go to the doctor's, right, to do the actual test to see if you really are pregnant. But like that, like constantly testing every day, just in this like wanting so much for this to
Yeah.
happen. And that's her like in her world doing that. And like no one can tell her what to do, 'cause she just needs to do this for herself. Anyways. Yeah, it's based on a lot of conversations and a lot of real things.
It was really beautifully done, and I do think also, like, the juxtaposition between, like, yeah, waiting in the bathroom, looking for that, and then also, like, having to repeat going to, like, the dentist office every day if you're that one severed person. Like, the metaphor there was very rich, and the
Mhm.
pain of that emotional experience just, like, really came through, and also in those transitions, just, like, the juxtaposition between the hope and the sorrow. It's so stunning. It's a really beautiful episode of television, and yeah, as someone who went through those experiences, and also, yeah, all my friends were all women in our 30s, and we're all going through that, and I think it just was so beautifully done. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. How did you feel when you learned that you were nominated?
Really happy, really moved. This show's been the past like 4 or 5 years of my life. Like it's been the main focus. It's been the thing that's taken me away from my own family and from where I'm from, and isolated me sometimes, honestly. And to see that this recognition for the work is just so flattering and so amazing. And yeah, it's bittersweet also because I'm leaving cinematography and now going, trying to enter this world of directing. And it took so much for me to actually trust myself and actually direct that I think I needed this thing to make it undeniable that I need to try, that I need to, because I know I'm going to fail. Like, this is amazing that this has happened. But I feel like, having that
You don't
nomination
know
will
that.
always,
I'm like, you don't know that you're gonna fail. Yeah.
well, I've had trouble accepting failure for a long time. That's why I didn't I feel like cinematography, it's not that you can't fail in cinematography, but there's this thing, I can hold it in my hands, and when you move into directing, you have to surrender more. It's not the same level of control.
That's like the opposite. Yeah, I feel like when you think of the director, you think of like they have all the ultimate control, but you're saying it's the opposite.
I see it as the opposite. Because I think if you're doing something that wants to operate on another level in terms of like moving, like really moving people and not making just like a technical thing that works together, I think films are such. uncontrollable things. You can try and contain it, but I think when you can feel it when something was too controlled, when too many people kind of like set limits on it, or just like tried to control it, you know, or, you know, it's like when you're trying to make that movie that's going to work at the box office and everyone kind of like moves through what are the things that you need, but then it has no soul. Like I feel as a director, you have to understand that yes, you can try and control. It's like sailing. I really see it as like a sailing metaphor, but you have to harness the wind. But you're
Mm,
not really, yeah, you're not God. You're not really controlling everything. There are things that are going to happen that you're never going to see coming. And I felt like in cinematography, I could plan for A, B, C, D, E, and it would be fine. Like I'd always have an option or a solution. But when you go into directing, there's just so many things that you kind of have to let go of some stuff.
wow. What sorts of projects do you want to take on as a director?
Figuring all of that out right now. There is a feature film I'm interested in directing. We're currently, you know, trying to put it together. It's always a lot of work. The other thing with directing is you need to be patient. which I which I'm learning how to, you know, I'm really working through that. Because you once again, you don't control. Like sometimes these movies, they just come together and then they go, you know, and sometimes you think it's coming together and it all falls apart. Whereas when you're a cinematographer, you're hired usually when a project is like on the move, like it's greenlit. So usually you're in motion. There's something very reassuring about that. But I wanted I think later, I don't know, I don't think I'm fully ready to do this right now, but, there's something I got to work with in episode 7 that I think is absolutely fascinating, and that's, like, the bigger concept of time and what is time, and what's real, what's not real, what are memories, like, ho are they made up? Are they how modified are they by us? Like, what is our perspective as humans? All these bigger consciousness kind of themes I'm super fascinated by. I fear them a little bit because I feel like they tend to move into bigger budget, situations just because of the language, but I'd love to, like, work up to that. But right now, I'm just trying to focus on stories that I feel like I can tell best. I felt that with 7. I felt like a sense of, "Oh, I think I'm the best person to make this." I need to feel that way about anything I do. I need to feel like, "This is mine. I'm made to make this thing." If I read something, and I can think of another director doing it that would be great for it, then it's not for me. You know, it really has to feel like I wanna defend this thing because when you choose to direct a project, you're almost kinda going to war with this thing. Like, it's so hard to make movies that you have to fight for it, you know, and you give up so many things to make movies. So I especially like in directing especially, it's all consuming and I have to feel like I can make that sacrifice for the movie.
Wow. That's yeah, that's interesting about I feel like even in my pregnancy, one of the big lessons has been loss of control. Like then once the biological things start happening, they start happening. Like I don't get to pick the due date. I don't get to pick where I am in my career when this happens. Like there's like so
Mhm,
many things, and it's been like a real lesson in the power of letting go, which is so intuitive. I also feel that like desire of like I like my career, I want to work, but also there's these other things, and if for them to come, there has to be a loosening, and it is really scary.
mhm.
Okay, my last question for you is, do you think there's like a lesson for Hollywood in terms of Severance's success? Like, do you like when we? I think this show is incredible. It makes so much sense to me that it would be the most Emmy nominated series. Like, do you think there's a lesson for the industry in how the show has been received?
Oh, 100%, and I think it's the best thing about Severance. It's a show that, like, no one it's season 1, no one had any idea what it was really gonna be and how it
Mm-hmm.
was gonna resonate, and it was such a leap of faith for Apple to do this show. Um, and I think now that it's like this it's just a beautiful piece of their library forever, and I think it will always be special, and it's, you know, resonated on a whole other level for season 2. I feel like right now in an environment where it's so hard to make things that are original and different and take risks, I'm hoping that there's, you know, some studios that can still be inspired by this kind of story because it's rare. And I feel like it's like this reminder of sometimes not being sure of the outcome or not being, and just kind of letting go and trying something, taking a risk on something. Um, it's beautiful. It's like one of these like success stories. So I don't know. I hope it can have that influence or be a reminder sometimes.